Colleagues and friends, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the third plenary meetings of Article 6 Implementation Partnerships, A6IP. My name is Hayato Nakamura, a team member of the A6IP Center. It is my pleasure to be today's MC. The previous plenary meeting was conducted in September last year, before having several online-based thematic working groups for developing support tools, namely authorization, reporting, and tracking. But this time, after having a second round, the A6IP has launched the support tool or support packages at COP28, which may be presented later on by our center. And the center, together with the partners, started deploying and discussing the support package to the partner countries and in order to accelerate the Article 6 implementation. After developing very substantial discussion at the third joint working group meeting last week, we come back to the plenary today to conclude the A6IP activities in this Japanese fiscal year, which ends in March and start again in April. Let me explain today's program. After the opening remarks, we request the A6IP Center, as well as major organizations, namely UNFCCC, as well as the World Bank, to share their work program for the coming year or years, so that we can all know the overall framework of the works to be planned for the Article 6 implementation. And then, as in session 2, we will have the session with country representative to see more Article 6 implementation on the ground. Lastly, in session 3, we will discuss with representatives from the private sector the way to boost Article 6 implementation for the next fiscal year. I also have a housekeeping announcement. For the question to the presenters and the panelists, we will use the Q&A window in the Zoom platform. In case if you find similar questions or comments, you may click like, so that the question that gathers more likes will be prioritized in the case there is a time constraint. Besides, I would like to note that the session today is recorded and uploaded in the web page of A6IP later on. The presentation materials that are being used today will be available online. The link will be shared later on or together with all participants today. Without further ado, I'm happy to invite the Honorable Yutaka Matsuzawa, Vice Minister of the Global Environmental Affairs, the Ministry of the Environment of Japan, for the opening remarks. The floor is yours, Mr. Honorable Mr. Matsuzawa. Thank you.
Thank you, Hayato-san, for your introduction and for your MC today. And dear participants from all over the world, very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I would like to express my deepest gratitude for your participation in today's plenary meeting of the Paris Agreement Article 6 Implementation Partnership. The market mechanism of Article 6 plays a significant role and enable us to achieve the 1.5-degree goal of the Paris Agreement. Implementing Article 6 can also contribute to both global emission reductions and national economic growth by stimulating the global decarbonization market and private sector investment. At COP28, the use of Article 6 was also included in the decision text of global stocktake in addition to domestic mitigation actions. While swift implementation of Article 6 is needed, the Article 6 implementation partnerships, or A6IP, established at COP27, has been already carrying out various types of activities, as Hayato-san already mentioned. Beginning with a plenary meeting, thematic working groups have been held regularly since last year on authorization, reporting, and tracking, which are essential for the implementation of Article 6. At COP28, the A6IP Center announced the release of the support package. This package is expected to support Article 6 related activities, including the initial report starting in 2024, and to increase the ambition of the next NDCs to be submitted in 2025. On 7th March, about 2 weeks earlier, the first advisory group meeting was held in Japan, and the way forward for capacity building activities was discussed. I have high expectations for the A6IP Center, the Secretariat of A6IP, to lead and further promote capacity building activities, such as providing hands-on training and introducing advanced case studies under international collaboration. We hope that today's meeting will further build momentum for the implementation of Article 6 and provide an opportunity for meaningful discussions on the partnership's future activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Vice Minister. Very sorry about the sound system here. Having the remarks in mind, I would like to proceed to the first session of the meeting. Updates on A6IP activities and the work program of A6 implementation. This session is to update on A6IP activities that align with the work program of Article 6 implementation by the key partner organizations. So I would like to request Director Kazu Kwak to A6IP Center to present A6IP activities and work program. A reminder is that please make sure that to put and press the like when you have any similar comments also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hayato-san, for your MC, and thank you very much for the Vice Minister for your opening remarks. And also very welcome to all the Article 6 main partners for this plenary meeting. This is the third time. And during this meeting, we'd like to give you some latest updates, including our planned work program for this coming 2 years for this implementation of Article 6. And also we have a very distinguished our partners from the countries as well as the private sector. So we look forward to our very lively discussion today. And also today's meeting is video recorded. So those who are not able to listen on live, there is also the opportunity to see this discussion later on. So with that, I'd like to start with updates on the Article 6 International Partnership activities. So next slide, please. So maybe many of you already know that this implementation partnership had started from COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, where the Article 6 implementation rules have been all agreed, and where we have launched this partnership together with many ministerial level participation at the side event. At the same time, we had also made a partnership agreement between the Ministry of Environment, also University Secretariat, and the World Bank. So this is also very important for us to start our strategic cooperation. Next slide, please. And last year, we also had Japan had a G7 presidency where there was an important milestone. The one milestone was establishment of this Article 6 Implementation Partnership Center, which was also welcomed by the G7 communique. At the same time, G7 also agreed on the principle of high integrity carbon market, which comprised of the supply side, demand side, and market integrity. So towards that end, our center is also tasked to support the capacity building activities on the ground, as well as the development of annual information and the database on the capacity building, and also the reporting of this, the important status of the implementation. We are also organizing these working groups as the plenary meeting as the secretariat of the partnership. So since the last April, we have been working in the implementation of this partnership. Next slide, please. So just to provide you that now we have a center is located in the institution called the IGES, Institute for Global Environment Strategies, where we have a dedicated office in this institute. And also we are now development of this all the important items such as the capacity building tools and also support package and also development of the information and as well as the management of the Article 6 implementation partnership. And also we are currently in discussion within the Secretariat and also World Bank together with many organizations to coordinate our capacity building efforts so that we can provide more concerted efforts as well as the latest updated information. So please tune up for our upcoming activities so that we can provide all the necessary support for the implementation of Article 6. Next slide, please. So just to give you one slide of the important milestone that we have within this IGES together with the president and also executive director, we have inaugurated this center. And if you see this in the center, we are holding this wood-based the name card of this center, which in Japan, if there is a urgent issue come up, we also put this kind of a cardboard to put the more importance of this initiative. So we really consider the implementation Article 6 is really crucial to achieve 1.5 degree as well as increase our ambition. So it is our urgency and also our commitment to provide implementation support. So this basically explains how we are committed to this initiative. Next slide, please. So since the launch of this partnership in COP27, at that time we had around 40 countries, which itself was also very large interest. But now we have 76 countries joining, and we always welcome any new countries to joining, and we are very much looking forward to working together with all the countries and creating more partnership among us. So the latest 76 countries, and next slide, please. And also we have been also getting many interest as well as support from the UNFCCC or UN institutions, as well as the regional banks, regional institutions, and also some specialized agencies, and also in-country research institutions as well. So our partnership has been really expanding, including those who are joining from the private sector. So later this session, we are also having the presentation from private sector, which they have also played a very important role, which we are also extending our support with those private sector organizations. So just wanted to provide you the latest updates on this, and we are always welcome to any organization who will be part of this process. So next slide, please. So for this A6IP activities, later on we can update you about the latest progress, but we have been organizing this working group, which we had last week. We had a joint working group on this authorization reporting tracking, where we have discussed about the latest development of the capacity building tool, which we will also use this coming activities. But at the same time, we are also organizing our consultations on the practical trainings, as well as the private sector engagement. So from now on, I'd like to also give you some of the latest updates. Next slide, please. And then also the support package. Later in the next session, my colleague Diana will also present you the latest support package, our activities. But this is something we have also launched from COP28, and we are now in the process of discussing with many potential countries that we are engaging together. Next slide, please. So for us, really enhancing this our NDC through this Article 6 implementation, and also towards the net zero target is very important. So for this, we are currently planning 2-year program starting from this year up to next year, for really as many countries as possible for them to participate Article 6 and for them to ready for the implementation of Article 6. So currently we are discussion with the partner countries to support the implementation for this 2 years program. But at the same time, we also continue to follow up for the implementation towards 2030, as well as beyond 2030. So but current focus for us is 2-year work program, so which we will also present later on. Next slide, please. So this is some of the updates from COP. So COP28, one of the important milestones was to launch of the support package. We had organized the ministerial level side events where also many ministers also joined, including from Minister of Environment, also Minister of New Zealand, and also many high-level officials attended to announcement of this support package. And also we organized together with our partner institutions on the how we can implement the capacity building program, also reflecting the different situations in the regions, and also utilizing the resources that we have. So we also had a very good discussion during the COP28 in terms of this the implementation support. And also we have good news during the COP28, which we also had a new announcement from those partner countries. And welcome to those who joined during that time. Next slide, please. And after COP28, we organized the webinar together with the International Emission Trading Associations, IETA, on the outcome of COP28. As well as the some of the responses or messages from private sector. So this the webinar was well attended. We have more than 500 registered participants, and we have a very good discussions, many good presentations from private sector, and also some of the outcome on the COP28 in terms of negotiation process. So this webinar is also available on the record. So if you look at this QR code, you can also access to the record. So please access those who haven't seen this before yet. So next slide, please. And also, we have been working on technical issues around the authorization, tracking, reporting. Again, those 3 elements are very important for the implementation of Article 6, particularly for the government to prepare for those necessary arrangement for the implementation of Article 6. So we have organizing this working group together with our partner countries, as well as those supporting institutions, and really try to exchange the experiences, as well as using those experiences and summarizing the rules. We are also developing the capacity building tool that could be also used for our support package. So this latest capacity building tools is also available in the website, and also we are intend to improve those materials as we proceed. But I just wanted to mention that we have been very good discussions, also sharing experiences, and all of the presentation is also available on the website. Next slide, please. And the timeline for the activities, as I just mentioned, we had a joint meeting last week for this working group. And so for this year, we also continue to improve and sharing of the experience from other countries, partners, really try to help each other. So we are now in finalizing this first draft capacity building tool, but at the same time, we will implement this on the ground. And also sharing our experiences among different countries. And so please also continue to join this working group, and we look forward to your contribution on this. Next slide, please. And also another important milestone we had just this month earlier, we organized the Article 6 Invention Partnership Advisory Group meeting, where there is a group of countries, also institutions who have been active in this Article 6 implementation and the sharing of the latest implementation activities, as well as the capacity building. And also discuss about the work program for these 2 years. Again, these 2 years, very critical. We have a BTR submission, and also the next year is the NDC update. So Article 6 really needs to catch up the pace for this Paris Agreement implementation phase. And we have very rich discussions around what is the current status, and also about what we need to support for all the implementation aspect of the Article 6. At the same time, we also recognize that there is a independent standard to be used for the achievement of NDC, as well as for other international purposes. And there is also different market mechanisms is also operating on the domestic as well as international space. So for this, the integrity of the market mechanism is also important. So we also discussed about the so-called high integrity carbon market and how we can support in achieving that objective. We also discussed about this aspect as well. So with this, the guidance we have received, we will also reflect in our work program and try to support in the implementation through this Article 6 partnership. So that's from our advisory group, but wanted to also share that we have a very good participation, and I look forward to continue working together. Next slide, please. Yeah, so that's the updates since COP28, and we have been very active in developing all different tools and support package. And here, during this time, we also like to share with you some of the latest information. So next slide, I would like to continue presenting this coming 2-year work program for our Article 6 Meeting Partnership. Yes, so next slide, please. So for this, first, I'd like to start with what is our key roles in Article 6 Partnership. There are 5 points that we have summarized here. So first one is, I think we are really in a good position to coordinating efforts among partner countries and organizations. I think we have all the common interest of implementation of Article 6 for the really achievement of net zero, achievement NDC enhancement, and also integrity. But I think this partnership itself will play an important role in coordinating such efforts towards the same direction. And for this, we are really promoting the aligning these strategic directions and what are the priority areas and for the support of Article 6. So this is something that we can provide some directions, and also some priorities so that we can also aligning our activities. And also, we are also have a value in terms of this understanding and communicating Article 6 rules. Article 6 rule has just agreed in COP28. And then I think we are now in the process of understanding, implementing. So this rules, guidelines, understanding, communication, that's quite important. And this is something we are also providing. And also promoting accessible country information, because we are working with the countries, we are also getting some direct information from the countries for the status of implementations and what is the situations and what is the needs and priorities. So we are also in a good position to provide those important information to be shared among partner countries as well as institutions to really promoting our support. And also, lastly, we are in a good position as well in a way to really documenting or disseminating those information in a more useful way through case studies or analyses and or databases. So these are the areas which we consider as important elements of this partnership. So next slide, please. And also, we are working in the different levels. We are working in the international level where we are sharing those good practices. And also, we are working together with UNESC Secretariat and World Bank and developmental database to really cover all these aspects. But we also think that the regional support is really the critical role. This was also discussed in the last plenary meeting. The collaborating with the Regional Collaboration Center under the UNFCCC and also regional alliances to provide more region-wide support, which we think this is also a critical component of the capacity building. And this is something we are also trying to incorporate in our capacity building support package. But at the same time, we all are working at the national level. So collaborating with the each partner countries, with the government, who are also responsible for the implementation of Article 6. So we are really working at the country level, but at the same time, providing more tailor-made support package, which are needed at the time of the implementation. So and also we are working with the private sector in this, I think, in the development of the projects, actual introduction of more decarbonizing projects, as well as the more opportunity for financing. And also many things is happening in the private sector field. So we are really covering all different levels and activities. This is also something that Article 6 partnership will play a very important role in connecting those different levels. Next slide, please. So for this, we are currently working on the particular focus on the Article 6.2. This is the guidance for the implementation of cooperative approaches. The areas where we are covering is authorization, tracking, and reporting, and also review process, which will be also taking place after the initial report and regular information has been submitted. So we are covering those three areas, and we are working this through the working groups as well as capacity building tools and trainings and regional events. And also we are planning to working together with our partners to really support in the implementation of those aspects. And there has been also Article 6.4 mechanism has been established, and they have been also started, and the supervisory body has been also providing a lot of standards and procedures. So for this, we are really targeting the host country roles and responsibilities. This is something the government also needs to play a very important role. And there is also the CDM transition that requires some support for transitioning some of the activities in the 6.4 activities. And also methodological issues requires more involvement of private sector and also involvement of host country for the baseline setting. So we are also covering those areas, and also the support of the designated operational entities who are doing validation verification for the 6.4. So for this, we also think the collaboration, coordination with the UNSC Secretariat, which later on we have a presentation from Secretariat. So the key is we really need to work together with the UNSCCC on this topic. But at the same time, we very much looking forward to the involvement of private sector, which also will play a very important role in developing the projects. So, and then the last point is the high integrity carbon markets, which we have a principle from G7 process, and this for the coming years, we are also trying to provide more examples and cases how this principle could be materialized. So for this, we are also working, we will work together with our partner countries and also private sector, engage to really create a more tangible outcome on this. So we are planning many webinars and seminars on this as well. So please also tune in this upcoming events. Next slide, please. And just to give you some broader priority areas for this coming 2 years, at least from our point of view, the latest, the emerging things is really for the countries to fulfill 6.2 participation, which requires arrangement of authorization of ITOMOS, as well as the tracking arrangements. I think those are the things that for many countries as a new process and a new infrastructure. So we're really focusing on the development of those 2 areas. And together with this initial report development is very important first step to start. So we really looking forward to working with the countries to help in submitting this initial report. And also the testing of the agreed format, which will be also important input for this COP29 to finalize this format. And also, we recognize some of the countries are now in preparation of the BTR, Biannual Transparency Report, and also regular information could be attached to this Biannual Transparency Report. So we are also happy to work with those countries which are in preparation of this regular information. Especially this year is a BTR submission. So those are some of the focused area. And the next year, we really looking forward to working on this annual information reporting, and also the support of regular information based on the submission of initial report. And also very much looking forward to working together with the countries to how the Article 6 really can contribute to the enhancement of NEC for the submission next year. So that's next year, 2 years focus area from our side. So next slide, please. So just wanted to also share with some of the important items which we are currently working on is the Article 6 implementation status, as well as the capacity building support database. This database is currently in Excel form and also available in the website. I will share with you some of the example in the next slides, but also please take a look at this and then see what kind of opportunity that you will be also receive through many institutions are providing capacity building support. And we also intend to compile or update those information, working together with partner countries, institutions, and try to make it this more easily accessible through the website, as well as more update and also notification to all of you. So for this, we are going to work on this website development and hope to announce our updated website soon. So next slide, please. So just to give you the current this capacity building database, you can see a lot of initiatives already being taken place. UNFCCC, UNDP, World Bank, UNEP. So many institutions are also providing, and also countries are providing the capacity building support, which you may also be able to receive. So the important things, we really wanted to update those information and also sharing among us, and so that we can also take benefit of this. So we like to support those aspects of the database, try to utilize existing resources for the implementation of Article 6. So next slide, please. So that's next slide, please. Yeah, thank you very much for your attention. So I hope that we can provide you some of the our priority area for this coming 2 years. Again, let me just emphasize these 2 years very critical, and we really committed to support all of you and prioritize your support. And but at the same time, using this Article 6 partnership value as an added function, and try to coordinate and support for the implementation of Article 6. So with that, thank you very much for your attention, and maybe back to Nakamura-san.
Thank you, Director Kazu, for the presentation. Then I would like to pass to the next presenter, Mr. Perumal Arumugam, UNFCCC Secretariat, to present the work program of the UNFCCC Secretariat. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for providing the floor. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks, Kazu, as well, making this Article 6 implementation partnership work in reality, and making all efforts to assist the countries in terms of participating within Article 6. If I could request whoever is managing the slides, I'm using my, yeah, some of you it's quite familiar with the presentation. We did had a working group meeting sometime in the last weeks. So it's pretty much the same in terms of an update on what our UNFCCC Secretariat is doing in relation to the Article 6 implementation and capacity building. If you go to the next slide. Thank you. So before getting into what we are doing, this is a contextual background on how does this work emerged. So in COP26 at Glasgow, there was a request for the Secretariat through the regional collaboration centers in consultation with the supervisory body and the parties who wish to voluntarily participate in the mechanism be supported with capacity building. So the whole year of 2022, after Glasgow decision, was used to identify the needs of different countries, and formally the capacity building work program was launched in Sharm el-Sheikh. When it was launched, it came up with different products for a time period of close to 3 years since Sharm el-Sheikh. And also there was some funding being made available from the CDM resources towards the support of Article 6.4 activities and the CDM activities that are transitioning into Article 6.4. Subsequently, the supervisory body has also adopted, has been continuously been engaged twice in a year. We have been consulting them in terms of revising the program and providing an update on where we are with respect to the implementation of the capacity building. If you go to the next one. This is a snapshot on what has been done over the year of 2023. I would not get into the specific details, but there are close to about 50+ different activities were undertaken within the capacity building program. that were managed by the different regional collaboration centers across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. The stakeholders ranged from the national focal points, DNAs, academia, private sector, and NGOs. Most of the engagements were related to capacity building and also at the regional levels. So we had a ReadyCap program in all the 4 regional climate weeks last year, whereby a day was dedicated to 6.2, a day for 6.4, a day for carbon pricing, and a day on the various aspects related to the DNAs and DNA activities. The engagements in those years in 2023 also were related to the Article 6 readiness, the strategy framework development, project program development under Article 6, and also the CDM transition. If you go to the next one. So this is, again, a pictorial illustration on when we talk in terms of the capacity building. This is like if you want to draw a journey of Article 6, there are multiple milestones. They are not sequential in order. Different countries request in terms of seeking support within this journey on specific milestones or the complete journey itself. So we have been looking at those requests and trying to offer support through our regional collaboration centers in each of these things. Like there are countries where we are working in terms of helping in defining a national strategy towards Article 6. There are some countries where we are supporting in terms of establishment of the DNAs related to Article 6. There are some countries that the countries have requested to identify kind of a positive and negative list in terms of what kind of activities they could allow within their broad segments of economy to be made available towards Article 6. And in some countries, they were even asking to identify within the larger framework of NDC implementation, which type of activities that they would be able to approve to participate within the mechanism. If you go to the next slide. So the next 4 slides are the 4 broad buckets of work that we are currently doing. So one is the database on the establishment of relevant regional and national stakeholders, the parties' various partnerships and carbon pricing instruments and policies. All the 6 regional collaboration centers are manned with 1 expert, carbon pricing and carbon market expert. So they have been working round the clock in terms of providing that support from those RCC with the policy and the strategic guidance provided from the headquarters in Bonn. So they have been like, there are different countries wanted to seek different support. So before jumping into providing direct support, it is also to take, it would be good to take a stock on what currently exists and what other actors and partners are doing. And I think been saying this quite some time. So that's where the platform like the Article 6 implementation partnership would be helpful to identify what different partners are doing, so that like we can provide complementary support rather than duplicating or redoing things where already some work has already been undertaken. So this is basically related to mapping of country preparedness and current engagement and prospects of NDC update. That's another challenge that we are looking, which is being faced at this moment. While we are starting to talk about implementation of Article 6, there are all the countries have a mandate to submit before the next March the revised updated NDC for the period until 2035. So in this case, many countries have also started working on revising their NDCs. So you need to, when we are engaging with the countries, we are also looking at not what has been done at this moment, but also looking at the future plans for 2035, and also countries where there are the long-term low-emission development strategies. Within that framework, how does Article 6 features within that? So that's one part of work where we are trying to pull together a kind of a cheat sheet for different countries in terms of their current NDC targets, work on the future NDC targets. Where does the Article 6 play a role? Is there a role for it to play to have some domestic instruments to be established, etc., as part of our another work, which is the work on SIACA, Collaborative Instruments for Ambitious Climate Action. The donors for that project was Germany. With the help of them, even the 6 experts are supported from the finances through that project. They are looking at both the carbon pricing as well as Article 6. So using those experts, what we are trying to do is in terms of creating this country profiling, whereby that our support can be more helpful. And using platforms like Article 6 Implementation Partnership, it provides us the visual, visually we will be able to know what our other partners are currently undertaking. If you go to the next one. So the first one was data collection and intelligence gathering related to various efforts. The second part is the regional and in-country direct support. We do have 72 plus DNAs at this moment. And we are helping some countries in terms of fulfillment of the necessary participation requirements under Article 6.4. Kazu in his presentation has also talked about the transition. So it's very important because transition is a time-driven one. The 31st December 2025 is the deadline. So far, we have received close to 1,500 projects as a transition request. And these projects have to complete all formalities by 31st December 2025 in order for them to be eligible as a transition activity. So for that, one of the important pieces of work that needs to be done is the host parties fulfilling the necessary participation requirements. So we are working with some of the countries in terms of assisting them in terms of what needs to be filled in, how it could be filled. The digital interface for the submission by the host party DNAs is already available since January this year. Then for some countries, like there was also a request, and we are working in relation to institutional arrangement, readiness assessment and support. And also in some countries that we are looking at even providing a direct support in terms of development and establishment. And then the other piece of work, I think, again, there was a reference to methodologies in the earlier session by Kazu. So here again, we are also looking at the baseline methodologies for key sectors and possible positive list development. And then reporting, accounting, and tracking support to countries. As you know, that even participating within Article 6.4, if a country chooses to do so, it has an obligation to submit an initial report. So in that case, what needs to be filled within this initial report? The Secretariat has already assigned the Cooperative Approach ID for countries that participate in Article 6.4 as Cooperative Approach ID 1. So as and when the party, when the country wanted to engage in Article 6.4, all it has to do is to fulfill the initial report requirements in terms of what types of activities and sectors that it will make eligible, what type of sectors that it would allow, and also the tracking and accounting related to whether it would authorize for specific purposes, or it would be allowing those units for MCUs, etc. And then we are also getting specific requests from quite a number of countries in looking at Article 6 potential and readiness on non-CO2 gases related mitigation. That's also particularly coming from the MENA region as a request, and where our experts are working closely on that. In addition to that, as on date, like all the national focal points and the DNAs where we do have 6.4 DNAs have been informed with the list of activities that were eligible for transition. And based on the latest information available on who has submitted those requests, the RCCs are also reaching out to the individual projects to identify if there are any teething problems beyond we know what has to be done at the host party level. And this supervisory body has outlined 3 requirements that needs to be fulfilled to complete the transition. So if there are any support needed, the team is also looking at that. So I would cover it as a regional and the direct country support. If you go to the next one, that's in relation to the regional and country level workshops. Last year, we had, like, as 2-3 slides back, when I have updated on what we have done in 2023, one of the major activity was the REDICAP and Article 6 training that held in conjunction with all the regional climate weeks for 4 days in all the 4 regional climate weeks. While we are still looking at the possibility of the regional climate weeks, we also had this request of doing these things in a sub-regional and regional level workshop. So we are looking at something soon in North Africa and South Asia in the first half of the year to hold a workshop, and also allied with that, within that host, also to do some country level work while doing those workshops. And we are also looking at integrated workshop on mobilization of Article 6 activities in the underrepresented region. This has multiple works, including that based on the lessons learned from the KP mechanism in terms of what are the drivers for high transaction costs and why certain countries did not benefit from the mechanism. So we are looking at that from that perspective. For example, if specific methodologies are required to be done in those underrepresented region, then we are looking at how we could support that. We are looking at what kind of standards could be developed in those places, or if there is an existing institutional arrangements to, there are local auditors like validation and verification bodies that could be benefit from participating in Article 6.4. So that mobilization work is also being undertaken as part of the regional and country level work. Article 6 training is also aimed at country leaders and DNA representatives. While we are doing all these things, we also wanted to indicate that these are not being undertaken in isolation. So it's been quite synchronized with other efforts such as the GCF readiness projects, the work of the CGE, the work of the Standing Committee on Finance, and any other training that's happening around Article 13 in terms of reporting requirements or review requirements. We are taking care of that. And then we are also planning to host the regional webinars for private sector DNAs and DOEs. And one of the things that I missed is also that as part of the NDC work, the UNFCCC has already convened a meeting of more than 60 agencies who are involved in the NDC update. So there was a meeting that held in a hybrid format on the 5th and 6th of March this year. As a follow-up, one of the outputs that came is also to reach out to the regional representatives or the regional coordinators of the different UN in the country offices. So the regional country offices as RCOs. So we are also looking at developing 2 half-a-day program training for all the regional representatives of the UN who also work quite closely with different governments within those regions. So we are trying to use these regional coordinators, the RCs, through their RCO office to also provide specific dedicated Article 6 understanding and the opportunities and the risk, so that when they engage with countries in terms of doing various developmental activities, to also consider Article 6, which we did not do in last year. Based on the conversation we had in the early March, and the outcome from that conversation led to us to also include the RCO level approach, which we would be doing over this year. And then regional webinars for private sector DNA and DOE. I'd seen that in the last session of this partnership meeting. We have AITA. So I've been also having some initial conversation with them in terms of whether we use the various climate summits that are organized and other regional events organized by ITA and other private sector organizations. There's one coming up in the first week of May in Uganda. So we are looking at different opportunities in order to capitalize on engaging with private sectors, DNAs and DOEs, and also looking at peer-to-peer learning workshops between countries that are well advanced or early movers to provide that feedback to the others. If you go to the next one. So this is the fourth bucket. So as you have initially seen, the first bucket of work is related to the cheat sheet or the country level analysis, the data intelligence gathering. And the second part of work is the regional support. And the third one was related to workshop. And the fourth one is in relation to knowledge products. So here, the Article 6 manual, as you all know, that it was published before COP in Dubai. So the revised manual, including the earlier version of the manual included only initial report. Now we would have a revised manual planned to be published soon, closer to the ESB session. The Article 6 review training manual, as on date that we are speaking, we have already received more than 80 technical experts nominated by the national focal points to undertake the technical expert review for Article 6. So the training manual is currently under preparation, and we will also plan for a training. Once the training manual is there, we will also plan for a training for those experts with an aim to host the first centralized review of Article 6 sometime later part in this year. And then knowledge products around roles and responsibilities of host parties. There was a mandate that we received from the supervisory body in its last meeting between the 26th February to 1st March for us to come forward with a manual covering roles and responsibilities of host parties in terms of infographics, videos, and other materials, which we have already started, and we aim to do it before the June session in Substa to have a full dossier on the roles and responsibilities of host parties. Then we are also trying to bring some blueprint or best practice examples from countries fast movers, while fully recognizing that there is no one size fit all. Each country has its own challenges and its own dimensions in terms of how its institutional arrangements needs to be done, but also there could be some inspiration that we can draw from the early movers in terms of what specific steps have been taken into account. So we thought that that is something that which could be helpful. So that's something that we are working as a knowledge product. As I said, that the policy brief short videos, when it comes to accounting, for example, corresponding adjustments, we would like to do something in short videos so that people can understand. And then the last part was the campaign to disseminate information around Article 6.4 regulations. And I think, which is again, Kazu said that despite that we say that we are in full implementation, we often receive this input from different countries. That's still the negotiating text, that whatever we develop in the process of negotiation needs always an understanding to be said I always use this word of humanly readable language, non-negotiation language. So that's something that we are trying to aim, and every single training program or knowledge product that we make, we strive to make sure that the technical jargons are limited in a way that it's easy for ease of understanding for every stakeholder. If you go to the last but one slide, again, I will not go into this. Like I was talking about the SIACA project, which as an independent project, the Secretariat is working through the support of Germany. So here we are working in relation to national strategy for carbon markets for some of the countries across different regions. They vary from support of design of ETS pilot program, assessment of potential economic and environmental social impacts of carbon tax, carbon markets and Article 6 within the national strategy, carbon pricing assessment and options at the country and the regional level, and also looking at the cross-border policy impacts of exposure and opportunity. So these are the things that have been delivered under the SIACA project. If you go to the last slide. Yeah, so this is, thank you so much. And this is what the UNFCCC is currently planning to do over this year and next year. And we have very well been in communication with Article 6 implementation partnership. As Kazu has initially mentioned, we did sign an MOU with the partnership way back in 2022. And now we are in an advanced stage of developing work plan and joint work delivery with Article 6 implementation partnership administratively with the Secretariat of A6IP Secretariat. And hopefully by when we come to June session, probably we will be able to say that we have administratively elaborated MOU to work with the Article 6 implementation partnership. Back to you. Thank you.
Now, I would like to pass to the last presenter of the session one. I would like to invite Mr. Hari Gade, World Bank, to present the work program of the World Bank. Mr. Hari, the floor is yours.
So much, Hayata-san, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening again, everyone. Thanks also for the invitation, and also, of course, I echo with what Parimal said at the beginning, the role of A6IP and the impact that it could have in terms of helping countries with their capacity building. So in the interest of the time, I will be very brief, and I'm going to talk a bit about the plans of the World Bank in terms of supporting countries on Article 6, of course in specific, but also in general, and the carbon markets, covering both Article 6 market and also voluntary carbon markets. Next slide, please. As you may know, of course, many of you, that the bank has launched what we call it as the Carbon Markets Engagement Roadmap during the COP28 in Dubai last year. This is basically to guide the role, of course, the bank plays in terms of supporting the carbon markets development, especially also, of course, focusing a bit on the voluntary carbon markets, building on the vast experience that bank has in this space for more than 2 decades, and also a lot of work that we have been already doing, for example, under the Partnership for Market Implementation Facility and the different trust funds that the bank manages under the climate change group. So the engagement roadmap, of course, has 3 pillars. One is the monetization. Of course, here we try to help countries to monetize the high integrity, high quality credits, starting with the, of course, the FCPF program that bank has in 15 countries. But of course, it goes beyond FCPF to other programs as well. And then the pillar 2, again, looking into systematically the opportunity that exists to especially the large scale bank programs, starting with what we call as a multi-phase programmatic approaches that bank is implementing in several regions, ranging from energy access to renewable energy to building energy efficiency, etc., and looking into them systematically and identify the opportunities for countries to monetize carbon credits from those programs, and then help, of course, achieving those objectives through scaled up approaches, not going by the project by project approaches, but of course, where it is relevant and then possible, explore the opportunities for the regional approaches. For example, looking into the, of course, can we come up with a MRV at the regional level and an institutional setup that, of course, facilitates the
complete paper actually.
Decision makings, of course, at the regional level, so that the process for achieving these objectives could be simplified, and of course, reduce the transaction cost. And then the finally is need to work with the, of course, the partners across the spectrum on different issues, ranging from, of course, meta regulators like ICVC, MVCMI, and then independent standards like rating agencies, and of course countries, basically to come up with action plan to address some of the bottlenecks that the market is facing at the moment. So moving forward, of course, most of the work that the bank does on carbon markets would be, of course, guided by this engagement roadmap, and then accordingly, of course, we come up with the different activities that we do, again aligning with the work that we already been doing under different initiatives within the climate change group. Next slide. One of the things, of course, that we also identified is that, of course, like Perumal also mentioned in his slides, and then Kaji-san also mentioned that how do we actually help countries to increase the readiness to participate in international carbon markets? Of course, apart from developing the tools and then mechanisms and then of course guidances and etc. For them to look into, and then of course providing the support to put those things in place. So we are also trying to look into, based on again our engagement in right now almost in 30 countries on different components of the carbon markets ecosystem. So can we come up with a framework that helps countries of course want to assess how they are doing and different building blocks that are necessary to assess like how ready they are in the carbon markets. But hopefully, of course, this could also help, I think, to learn from others, like how others are doing, and then what approaches other countries are adapting basically to improve or to set up these things for the betterment of the their participation. So here, of course, we are trying to come up with some kind of a spider diagram that captures relevant building blocks. Of course, this is only an illustration. This is, of course, will be reviewed and then refined further, and then come up with some kind of a global framework that could, of course, help countries to systematically analyze and then hopefully standardize the way, of course, countries can improve their readiness to participate in the international carbon markets. Next slide. Similarly, of course, we're also, of course, trying to see, how do we actually help countries to assess the infrastructure needs, to participate in the carbon market. So here we, of course, come up with some kind of a systematic approach to help countries to look into starting from the needs assessment of the MRV and register systems to of course implementation and then development support. Here, of course, we look into the country capacities, country needs, and mitigation potential, and then the way the indices are framed, and then of course availability of the different open source systems that are available, and then most importantly to consider the sustainability of these systems over a longer period of the time. And then how do we actually help countries through that journey, so that it meets, of course, their requirements with the minimal cost, and then two, basically like how that it supports meeting the different for example reporting requirements under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. And of course the capacity building training is integral to the entire process. So taking of course the country with us the entire journey, and right from the assessment, I think this turns out to be the very useful experience, and then there are already several lessons that we learned with our work in different countries. But of course the question for all of us actually is then can we customize the infra needs and then come up with some kind of a modular approach that helps countries to pick and choose depending on their needs, and that of course also reflects the country context and capacities. Of course, this is the one ongoing work that the bank is doing with several countries under the PMI program. Next slide. Now, this is, of course, a snapshot of some of the countries that we are working, for example, under the Partnership for Market implementation, the level of the support that they requested from the bank on different aspects of the, the carbon market ecosystem, like including the strategic assessment on the role of the carbon markets and then how they need to approach, especially in the context of having the domestic carbon pricing also in place already, or in the process of having that one. In that scenario, how basically countries needs to better utilize the the international offsets, of course, again encouraging the domestic offsets, and then at the same time, of course, not impacting the effectiveness of the domestic carbon pricing that these countries are introducing. Policy governance, again, I mean, so we all know there are several countries either already put in place or different stages of putting these policy frameworks and governance. And again, like, how do we actually help countries to come up with a framework or governance that that is not too burdensome, that doesn't take actually years of the time to come up with such kind of a policy framework? How do we actually help that? And the market infrastructure I talked about, and the capacity building is, of course, grass. What we are trying to also do is that based on our work in many of these countries, of course, I haven't listed down a few other countries where we are supporting specific components of carbon market ecosystem, making it total more than 30 countries. So come up with some kind of a lessons learned on different topics of the carbon markets, and also, of course, like as a comprehensively. So can we come up with some kind of lessons learned that could be useful for any other country. So stay tuned for many more of those things come up during this calendar year and then in the future. Next slide. This is, of course, again, I think you might also know that the bank has this supporting the climate action data trust, again, to facilitate the more transparency and then connecting the different registries and then provide the the data that is needed for the market. And of course, carbon pricing hub, which is again that the bank has, of course, internally but also externally with like-minded countries that are operating in this space to discuss in technical environment. And then we also launched what we call as a Carbon Action Forum during the COP. Again, this is a platform to facilitate buyers and then sellers, and then of course to discuss about the things that are most important to them when it comes to the transaction side of the ecosystem. In Carbon Markets Club, of course, that under which we develop a lot of approach papers. I'm sure you are all familiar with them, and then we are, of course, in the process of developing more and then making it available for wider audience. Next slide. And this is, of course, my final, but and then this is again the thing that we are currently working to look into the how do we actually help countries to access this this capacity building on a regular basis or permanent basis, to coming up with some kind of a academy idea. So here again to develop these capacity building modules, both on the carbon pricing and also the carbon markets, building on the extensive knowledge that we already generated, but most importantly, working with our other partners and who already in this space and then developed such material, and then how do we actually make use of all that is available and then make it available either in the form of the e-courses or facilitated training and etc. Of course, this is still in a very initial stages, and then more information will be made available in the coming months on how actually the bank sees its implementation. But the idea is, of course, to set up some kind of a academy for both carbon markets and then carbon pricing, because we are working with more than 30 countries already on that one. Next slide. Again, this, of course, to further illustrate what I just mentioned, again, through our PMI country programs and then also other initiatives, and then coordinate and deliver services with relevant partners, which we are already working, including, of course, Article 6 Implementation Partnership Center, UNFCCC, ICAP, etc., of course, on different topics. And as part of this one, also to develop some kind of assessment tool to understand the impact of these capacity building on countries. So I will stop here and then happy to clarify or answer any questions during the Q&A. Thanks. Over to you.
It's over time, but I would like to take the question from the floor. So the question that gathers the most like is, let me check. Prior to authorizing, reporting, tracking any ITMOS, countries should ideally develop Article 6 strategies. Many low-income countries are in need for better MRV systems in order to know what their current emissions are, which is crucial for the development of Article 6 strategies with conditional and unconditional targets for different sectors and the efficient channeling for international carbon climate finance. Can the A6IP help address this need for better MRV infrastructure to speed up Article 6 implementation? So I think it's directed to Director Kazu. So could you answer the question? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that questions from Arang. And I think I think we all collectively address this issue, which is quite important. But the one thing we are currently thinking about our planning for the work program is that under the tracking working group, we are also trying to develop what kind of options that countries are creating for their tracking system, either by developing by themselves, by domestic or party registry, or using international registry, or using some of the support, such as like a World Bank is providing the carbon market registry. And also we know that the UNDP is also providing, and also there are several initiatives that existing registry system could be also utilizing. So we are also planning to do some kind of a survey in terms of how the country try to develop their MRV system, including their emissions or covering their domestic market. So I think it'd be good to develop kind of a what are the cases that countries are developing their own. But at the same time, what could be the kind of support that the institutions are also playing. So I think those are things that we are currently thinking under the tracking working group, as well as the development of the those case studies. So that's something that we are currently thinking, and hope that we can create some tangible examples from this.
If I may just complement to what Kaji-san has just mentioned, so it's excellent point, and then many countries actually also raised, recently as well, like, normally, of course, when it comes to the MRV of what is the question, right? I mean, like most countries wants to MRV their emission reductions, and then climate finance flows. I think MRV of emission reductions, I think, is relatively easier in terms of like, of course, identifying which are the mitigation projects in different sectors, or what is the underlying methodology that one could use, and then quantify the emission reductions. But of course, there again, the baseline establishment is a bit of challenge, but of course, it's technically, it's relatively easier. Similarly, of course, the climate finance flows, but again, there the challenge is again, how do we actually collect that information from different line ministries, or especially of course if it also flows to the private sector, then how do we actually get that information? What mandate the governments will have to get that information, whether that could be done through appropriate legislation and etc. We have few examples in countries that are trying to see how do we actually get this information systematically. But I think one of the most major challenges is the MRV of the emissions, again, because here it is linked to the national inventory systems as well, which we all know that in many countries these inventories are not up to date, or even if they have them, it's like the different methodological approaches, the uncertainty levels, and then accuracy is the biggest issue. So that's basically where I think we as a collective have an important role to play in terms of like how do we actually help, especially low capacity countries, to address this main barrier to help updating these inventories on regular basis. And most importantly, because of the linkage that we'll have on the accounting for example, on Article 6 also, especially when it comes to the corresponding adjustments, etc. That is the work, of course, the bank is seriously looking into, not on our own, but of course, as part of the Digital for Climate working group that we established with UNFCCC, BRD, UNDP and others, and then we are looking very closely on that, how do we actually work on that part of the equation and then help countries. The short answer is, of course, definitely, I think many players in the market is looking at different components of this MRV, and then how do we actually bring these together and then learn from each other. I think that's basically where the Article 6 Implementation Center is going to play an important role. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the answer from Director Kaz, and the comments, and also the encouraging comment actually to HXIP by Harry-san. And many thanks for the question. And very sorry that the time is not enough, but to absorb all the questions. But the questions are recorded for our consideration, and we will be happy to answer later on. So let me move to the second session, sharing the lesson learned on Article 6 implementation. This session is to discuss the implementation on the ground or in each country, while the session moderator explains more about the context. But today, we can have the speakers from, firstly, Thailand, Dr. Pavina Panichaya-Piche, manager of Thai TGO. From Tunisia, Ms. Raida NH, Director of Implementation and Support Mechanism of the Ministry of the Environment. From India, Dr. Krishan Kishore Garg, Joint Director of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And from Zambia, Dr. Alik Mundika, Acting Deputy Director of National Institute of Scientific and Industrial Research. Besides, as a discussant, we have Dr. Alexandra Souza, Gulf Organization for Research and Development. So I expect that she can advise on further implementation based on her experience so far. For the notable speaker at session 2, please put the camera on when you do not have the program so that we may engage in discussion after the series of the presentation. Meanwhile, I would like to request my colleague, Diana Khan, Program Manager, who leads the country-based support package and development at the A6IP Center, to take the floor as the session moderator. Diana-san, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nakamura-san. I'm going to share my screen. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Okay. All right, so today I'll be talking with partner countries as well as partner organizations, as Nakamura-san mentioned. So we're going to be talking about sharing lessons learned from Article 6 implementation and expectations they may have of Article 6 IP Center. So these partner countries have shown unique progress and challenges, making our partnerships crucial for their journey towards implementing Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. First and foremost, I'd like to explain our Article 6 Implementation Partnership Support Package. So our support package customizes each support package to be based on the country's needs, priorities, and readiness status of a partner country. So in order to facilitate and support the achievement of the country's current NDC and its enhancement in the next cycle of the NDC, the A6 IP Center offers a full support package, or what we like to call individually selected support options that are tailored to the partner country's specific needs. So let's go over the 6 elements. Here's a breakdown of what's included in our support package. So we have strategy development, authorization, reporting, tracking, project initiation, methodology development. So depending on the country's situation, we can modify or add extra support where needed. We would additionally collaborate with partner countries, institutions to further develop the support package. So now turning to the support package process. Our support package process, we offer a consultative approach with partner countries and institutions to shape and implement the support package. So let's jump into the 6 steps of the support package process. The first step is inviting our partner country for support package development, in which we had sent out an email to engage them in coming to the A6 IP Center and developing their support package. Step 2 would be expression of interest. So partner countries who are keen on wanting to initiate the support package development process reach back out and express their interest in developing a support package. Step 3 would be organizing an online in-person consultation. So upon receipt of the expression of interest, we would then start scheduling an online consultation with the partner country. Step 4, we would propose a draft support package. So this would be in coordination with the partner country in order to develop a draft proposal of the support package. Step 5 would be capacity building coordination, and that's more of a post consultation. So we would guide the partner country in tapping into A6 IP's expansive partner network, and this just aims to ensure the seamless and synergetic collaboration amongst the various stakeholders involved. Step 6, it would be our support package implementation. And so this would where A6 IP Center would come in and present a tailored offer addressing the country's unique needs and augmenting the support solutions already provided by our partner ecosystem. So now let's turn over to our wonderful speakers. Currently, we had online consultations with 3 partner countries, which was authorization with Tunisia, strategy development, an overview of authorization with the Bahamas, as well as Thailand, and helping them develop their methodology. So as I spoke about the 6 steps of the process of the support package, currently these countries were in step number 3, which is organizing the online consultation. So now I'd like to turn it over to our wonderful speakers today. Let me stop sharing my screen. And I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Parweena from Thailand for her to speak on her experiences with Article 6 implementation, since they recently participated in the A6 IP methodology workshop. Dr. Parweena, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Diana, for the chance that led us to share our experience from implementation of Article 6. First of all, I would like to give you a brief, brief history about implementation of crediting mechanisms in Thailand. That if we categorize the crediting mechanisms to 4 types, we can see that in Thailand, we have the first registered project in year 2007 for CDM, under CDM program. And we also have like many gold standard and VCS projects. And we have a domestic program called Standard TIFR in year 2014, and the bilateral cooperation with Japanese government in year 2015. But after the adoption of Article 6 in year 2021, and because the rules, modalities, and procedures of Article 6.4, and also the guidance for cooperative approach of Article 6.2, because we see many requirements that we still not meet that requirements. So we improve the standard TIFR, and we have like a new standard called premium TIFR that we want to align with Article 6 requirements. And also for the bilateral cooperation with the Japanese government or JCM, we also develop more new rules of implementation in order to align with Article 6, and we call JCM track under premium TIFR. Because in Thailand, we want the only registry that registers that all of the credits that will be transferred to other countries or for other international purposes to be recorded in the registry of my organization. So and for the statistic of these projects, we have 145 registered CDM projects, and 73 meet with the can transition to Article 6. But only 19 projects request for the transition, and we have 34 gold standard registered projects and 42 VCS projects. For JCM, we have 51 projects in existing pipeline, but only 11 projects is already registered in. And for our domestic program or TIFO, we have 401 projects. And 2 projects from 41 is transfer its credits to the Swiss Confederation, and we are waiting because for Thailand we haven't got any DNA for Article 6.4 yet, but we think that if we have the DNA, maybe these 19 projects will be transferred to Article 6. So the difference between premium TIFR and our standard TIFR is that we try to put everything that requested by Article 6.4, like the additional to business as usual. I mean, the activity shall be additional, and the baseline shall be below the business as usual. And also we need to have like a public participation process and also the local stakeholder consultation in order to engage the public and also the local stakeholder with the project design. And the projects shall be ensured that it do no net harm to the local communities, and it shall support the SDG. And the most important for the forestry project is that it shall the carbon credits shall be permanent. So we have like many we have the regulations and announcement that the project participants need to compensate in case that there are any reversals from the mitigation outcomes. So, and this slide shows the difference between what we need to do more in case that we want to transfer our credits for NDC or for other international purposes. We have more process compared to the domestic use of the carbon credits, that we need the authorization process, and also we need to report to the UNFCCC, and we need to do the corresponding adjustment. That's why the government need to choose which projects will be appropriate to be developed under Article 6. Like I see in the question and answer that in the question box that we have a question about Article 6 strategy that the country shall have its first before we can make any decision about which projects we shall transfer the credits. So in Thailand, we have the bilateral cooperation with Japanese government and also with the Swiss Confederation. With the Japanese government, we have the joint crediting mechanism that we have 51 projects in our existing pipeline. And for Swiss, with the cooperation with Swiss Confederation, we have the first 2 projects that already translates credits to the Swiss Confederation. And we also have support from GTTI and IT and German government for the IKI Spark 6C project that we have like a strategic planning for Article 6, and we try to have like a pilot project and many capacity building for Article 6, but it may be specialized on the registry that we try to enhance our registry system. And we also submit our domestic programs, premium fuel cell and evaluation to be an eligible program that can use its carbon credits for offsetting the emission from the international airlines and international flights. And this this slide show what the Article 6 impact to the crediting mechanisms that we already implement in Thailand, that you can see that the guidance from Article 6.2 and also the rules, modalities, and procedures of Article 6.4 have many requirements that we need to put it in place. Like, Thai government, we acknowledge the Thailand's carbon credit management guideline and mechanism. Under this guideline, we have like a procedure for the authorization, the reporting, also the corresponding adjustment. And it also has like a specification for project types and also the eligibility criteria, which projects can be developed as the Article 6 project. So after we have like the national guideline, we need to modify the rules of implementation of JCM and also the standard tier is up level to premium tier standard. So that's what we do in Thailand, because we need to have a single registry system that will be recorded every credits that we transfer to other countries or other international mitigation or other international purposes. So the information, the data from registry system will be sent to the national inventory and then report to UNFCCC. So this is what we do in Thailand. So, but the challenges that we still need to overcome that is that we still have like some question. For reporting, we found that we already submit our first initial report for the cooperation with Swiss Confederation, but we also need to, in case that we pass the evaluation of ICAO and the premium table can be used for offsetting the under CORSIA, we may need to submit the initial report for CORSIA. And also we don't have any, because right now we don't have the agreed electronic format, but Thailand already transferred our credits to Swiss Confederation. So we just have like a draft table that we put some information and submit to our national focal point on climate change because the Article 6.2 guidance stated that we need to submit the data to UNFCCC before in April, something like that. So we try to follow it, but we have no agreed electronic format right now. So and the important thing is that we try to get more knowledge that what is the addition to, because it's like we have the specification that the activities shall addition to the national plan and also support the long-term strategy, something like that. So maybe this like a strategy that we need to have before we select an appropriate activities. And as Diana said, that we have like a online consultation. For Thailand, we already have an online consultation, this IP6 IP Center in 22nd February. And what we need is the support on specific methodologies and also for some concepts on the methodology. Like we just see the text that is mentioned that we need to adjust the baseline or something like that, but we don't know how to do it. So we need to have more knowledge about it. And also we also need some like technical knowledge about how to improve the method to finding out the emission factors, the appropriate values for the emission factors. So that's all our need for the capacity building and support from A6 IP Center. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Parweena. That gives us a wonderful overview of where Thailand is with their readiness, priorities, expectations for the Article 6 Implementation Partnership Center. So we greatly appreciate that. Now I'd like to give the floor over to Dr. Alec from Zambia. If you could come to the floor and please present on your Article 6 implementation status. Thank you, Dr. Alec. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I hope I'm loud and clear.
Yes, you're loud and clear.
So greetings from Lusaka, Zambia. It's just afternoon here. I'm sure Japan is midnight. I don't know what time it is now in Japan.
It's about 8:30 p.m. So we're getting there, not yet.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you very much once again for giving us an opportunity to share lessons on how we are going about implementing on Article 6 as a country. I don't know who is showing the slides.
You have slides up, Dr. Alec, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's me. Next slide, please. Okay, so just for those who don't know where Zambia is located, we are located in Africa, and we are right in the southern part of the continent, in the southern African region. So that's where we are. In terms of climate, we're a tropical country. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. Yes. So, I mean, just to give context, Zambia has a conditional NDC, which consists of both mitigation and adaptation based on the country's national circumstances. And so as a country, we identified Article 6, or the carbon market, as one way of helping us achieve our conditional aspect of the NDC. We thought the conditional aspect could help us, I mean, the carbon market could help us raise resources to meet the conditional part of our NDC. And just to give context again, our NDC has a target of 47%, and this translates to about 38,000 gigatons up to 2030. So the business as usual is 25% of that, but then the 47% is what is conditional, and this is where we need support. And so this is where we identified the carbon market, or under Article 6, as one of the ways in which we could raise resources to help us achieve that conditional part of our NDC. Next slide. Okay. So there are several steps that we've put in place to help us implement Article 6. I don't know. Yeah. So the first step was to put in legal regulations in place. So the second step was to develop an Article 6 strategy, a country strategy on Article 6. And this was going to be followed by the establishment of an institutional process. Once we do that, we're going to communicate processes to developers, project developers. And then finally, we're going to test the process through pilot activities. Next slide. Yes. So in terms of where we are, as a first step, what we did was in 2022, we did a readiness and needs assessment as a country. So this resulted in 2 policies and regulations. As I speak now, we've got a climate change bill, which is still in draft form, but we're hoping it will be enacted into law this very quarter. So the bill will basically govern our carbon stock management, as well as carbon markets in general. So before the bill, we had the Forestry Act, and under that act we had regulations which were issued under Statutory Instrument number 66. So these were the ones that were guiding us on how to go about the carbon market. But then this wasn't sufficient, because the Forest Act, as the name suggests, it only concentrated or looked at REDD+ projects. It never took into account other projects that could be eligible under the carbon market or under Article 6. And so that was the reason why we've now come up with a climate change bill, so that we could have a holistic approach to Article 6 or carbon markets as a country. So there is therefore need to align the Forest Act to the climate bill, which will be enacted into law this very quarter. Next slide. Okay. So as part of our national strategy, the government has identified and submitted a robust NDC together with an LED to the UNFCCC. So the ministry responsible for climate change in Zambia is called the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, or MGGE. So it is the ministry that is tasked with the task of preparing an updated NDC, which is actually due next year. So the ministry is also in the process of finalizing the carbon market framework. So at the moment, as we speak, we've got part 1 of the carbon market framework, which was launched last year by the Honorable Minister. This carbon market framework actually gives guidelines on the submissions and the evaluation of any projects which developers want to submit. So in essence, we actually have a carbon market framework in place, although it's not complete because it doesn't have the fees and shares of proceeds under 6.2. So that is the only thing that is remaining. Once we resolve these issues of coming up with a fee and share of proceeds under 6.2, and also guidelines for transitioning of CDM and VCM projects to Article 6, then we'll have a full-fledged carbon market framework. But suffice to say, even where we are now, we are able to use the carbon market framework part 1 to review projects and also evaluate. But more importantly, the framework also guides project developers on the requirements that they need to do. If they are to submit a main or mitigation adaptation information note or PIN, there is a guideline. So developers are guided by just going through the carbon market framework, which is actually accessible on the web. It also guides on the timelines which we review these projects, and also the timelines in which we issue letters of no objection and letters of authorization. So the Zambia Carbon Market Framework will be actually linked and backed by the Climate Change Bill once it's enacted into law this very first quarter. So we are talking of, by the end of this month, we should have a Climate Change Act in place, and then this will allow us to come up with the regulations that will factor into a share of proceeds and also the fees that developers may be requested to pay to enable the committee, the technical committee, start reviewing these documents. Next slide. Well, I think I won't spend much time on this one because this one just talks about the share of proceeds which we anticipate to come up for 6.2, as well as the benefit sharing. As you are aware, you know, from this part of the globe where I'm coming from, most the benefits that people expect from carbon projects are actually benefits that are seen on the ground. So the benefit sharing aspect is very, very crucial to us as a country because then it gives support to the people on the ground, the people that are implementing the actual CDM, the actual Article 6 projects or carbon projects. So the benefit sharing plan is very, very cardinal, and it's actually a requirement for any developer who wants to implement a carbon project in Zambia to state what the benefit sharing is and it is looking like. Next slide. Okay, so our climate change bill in its draft form has already established the institutional processes for the coordination of carbon market activities. So the carbon market framework will also establish the process and procedures for the actual operationalization of the carbon markets under Article 6. The Integrated Measurement, Reporting and Verification System, or IMRV, is actually being developed right now with the support of a SPARK program. And that's why you are seeing GCF, GFA, and GGI, because these are the partners that are helping us come up with this framework. In Africa, we are the only country that have received support under the SPARK program. So the SPARK program is helping us come up with the IMRV, the Integrated Measurement, Reporting and Verification System. So the establishment of a national carbon registry that will be integrated with the National Measurement, Reporting and Verification System is already underway with the support of the SPARK program. So this is really good because then it will help us track even when we start issuing out ITMOs. The IMRV will help us do the tracking. Next slide. Okay, so I won't spend much time on this one. This is just a mitigation activity approval process. So, as we all know, the first thing which a developer does is to submit a main or mitigation activity information note, and then as a technical committee will issue a letter of no objection if we're okay, and then the developer will go to develop what we call the MADD, which is a detailed project document. So it is that document where we issue a letter of authorization. Next slide. Again, this is just an activity cycle which we follow as government when looking at these project documents. So I think I won't spend much time on that. We are all familiar with this. Next slide. Okay, So in terms of the progress, the ministry has and will continue to engage and build capacity for both the private and government stakeholders in institutions of guidelines and operationalization of Article 6. So Article 6 and VCM or voluntary carbon market projects, capacity building has been conducted and is underway actually for both government and the private sector. But we've also put an emphasis on the financial sector capacity building. In Zambia, carbon projects are very new to banking sector. So we are trying to build capacity also in this sector so that they could start making resources available for would-be project developers. So in terms of development of Article 6 opportunities, currently a total of 27 projects were submitted under the Spark project. So this really is to show that these carbon projects can work, because at times you talk to would-be developers, you go to a factory which has got potential to reduce emissions, but when they haven't seen something, working, it's very, very difficult for them to, believe you or believe what you are saying. So as part of the support from the Spark program, they are deliberately supporting mitigation activity projects, which they want to showcase so that other would-be project developers can actually see that this thing works. So at the moment, there's one sugar company where the project is underway. It will be generating 40 megawatts using the bagasse which they produce. So it will be a renewable energy source, which will actually help them. Next slide. I think this could be the last slide. So because of where we are as a country, we have bilateral framework agreements. There is the launch of the guidelines for submission and evaluation of mitigation activities as a country has actually created a positive perception for Zambia in terms of its readiness to participate in Article 6. So this has led to a lot of countries coming forth wanting to enter into bilateral agreements. As I'm speaking now, we are in discussion with the Swedish, Switzerland, German, as well as Singapore to come up with MOUs so that we could have carbon projects up and running with potential buyers in their countries. I think this is the last slide. Next slide. Yeah, that was the last slide. So this is where we are as a country. And really my last words would be that we'll have a climate change bill by the beginning of next month, which is the second quarter. And then once we have that, everything will actually be in place, will be good to attract any carbon project in the country. Although capacity building will still be required, and that's why I would need the support of the Article 6 implementation partnership. So thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Let me end here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alec, for your wonderful presentation on understanding where Zambia is currently in the process of Article 6 organizations that they're working with, their readiness, as well as what they're looking for in support from the A6 IP Center. And now I'd like to give the floor to Director Raida from Tunisia, if you'd like to have the floor and speak on Article 6 implementation status. Thank you.
Good morning, Diana. Good evening. Hello, everybody. I am Raida El Elj. I am Director of Support and Implementation Mechanism in the Ministry of Environment in Tunisia. And I am very pleased to be today with you and to participate in this meeting on behalf of the Ministry of Environment. Could you please manage the presentation I have sent to you? Thank you. So I will start by sharing some key figures and informations about Tunisian national determinant contribution. As you know, Tunisia is a party of Paris Agreement. Please, just next slide. Thank you. Tunisia is a party of Paris Agreement and was among the pioneers who submitted an NDC on September 16, 2015. Then Tunisia updated its NDC on October 2021. And this update was actually an upward review of the NDC that reflected an increase in the ambition by setting a new target in terms of reduction in carbon intensity by 45% instead of 41% in 2030 compared to the baseline year 2010. This target is split between unconditional emissions reduction and conditional emission reduction. Unconditional emissions is approximated to 27% by 2013 compared to 2010, and conditional emissions are estimated to 18% in 2013 compared to 2010. The next slide shows a chart about the business as usual scenario compared to the conditional and unconditional efforts. Three scenarios with unconditional efforts, that's mean with only national efforts, national financing, and there is an additional reduction, which is 18%, which corresponds to additional financing, international financing. Next slide, please. Of course, to implement the updated NDC, this requires mobilizing significant financial resources estimated at approximately $19.4 billion from over the period 2021-2030. And this includes $14.4 billion for mitigation. So here just the mitigation part corresponds to 82% of the financing needs, and this stem mainly from the energy sector, which is particularly capital intensive. For international support to be mobilized in order to fulfill conditional contribution, this was estimated to $11.1 billion US dollars over the same period. And this support could be mobilized in different forms, concessional credits, grants, but also carbon market mechanism. And this was explicitly mentioned in the Tunisia NDC that we wish to engage in the cooperative approaches in all sources eligible for Article 6 mechanism, with a focus on renewable energy field, but also industrial processes, waste and wastewater, agriculture, forestry, and land use. Next slide, please. So in this perspective, Tunisia has prepared, with the support of the GIZ roadmap or vision for Article 6 implementation that was in April 2023. This vision is structured around 7 points. First is to promote the use of Article 6 through capacity building for key players, financial support framework for projects, also capacity building for negotiating bilateral agreements. The second point is implementing transparent regulations for emission reduction ownership. This has to do, of course, with transparency rules when it comes to avoiding double counting, etc. The third point is transparent indication of sources or activities which emission reduction might be marketed through Article 6. Here it has to do with identifying a set of criteria relating to eligible projects and also eligible national entities. For example, when it comes to projects, many criteria should be identified. There are some requirements relating, for example, to how much the project will contribute to the achievement of the national determinate contribution. Also, this project must be considered under only conditional support. Criteria also relate to environmental integrity. There are also some criteria that relates to national entities, the potential project proponents, public or private, what are the requirements. Donc, in the roadmap, there are some insights and some proposals for these criteria that still need to be worked out. The fourth point is withholding mechanism, which is also an important point. The five point is the use of withholdings, and this relates to option regarding how the government may use the revenue coming from withholding. For example, they can be recycled into mitigation policies or just used as provision against the risk of non-achievement of the unconditional objective of NDC. Donc, there are many options to consider here. The sixth pillar of this roadmap is the fiscal treatment of itemized revenues, and the seventh one is about promotion, the emergence of voluntary market, because we still don't have a voluntary market in Tunisia, and it would be also interesting to engage in a reflection about this. Next slide, please. Here, just a chart about the roadmap for Article 6 implementation. It's not much up to date, just for the first one, the establishment of the institutional and organizational framework. Actually, it was delayed, and we intend in the second quarter 2024 to work on these aspects. So next slide. Okay, here just I want to provide some information about the bilateral agreement signed by Tunisia under Article 6 to date. The first one was a memorandum of cooperation signed with Japan and the GCM, that was in August 2022. And the second one, more recently, we signed also a bilateral agreement with Switzerland at COP28. Next slide, please. This table capture at a glance Tunisia's readiness on Article 6. I will go quickly through it. Some requirements are already here, others are still to be developed. Tunisia is a part, of course, of the Paris Agreement. It has prepared, communicated, and maintained an NDC. This was fulfilled. It has arrangement in place, not yet. We will work on this mainly with A6IP during the first semester of the current year. The same for arrangements in place. We will work on this also with the A6IP. For the national inventory report, this has been done. And for the contribution to the implementation of NDC and long-term low carbon strategy, also we submitted this document. Next slide, please. Donc here, just remind the main challenges we are faced regarding Article 6 implementation. The first priority, of course, is the authorization arrangement. This is crucial, and this is the first step that should be established to allow the authorization of projects. Second, tracking arrangements. Also, we need to figure out what are the existing options to track ITMOs and what are the pros and cons of each one. The legal framework also, we will still work about the way to enact legal framework to which project proponents and also the designation of national authority will refer in the future when dealing with the project proposals. The initial report, of course, we need to prepare our initial report and to submit it by the end of 2024. We have also to work on corresponding adjustments, but at a later stage to understand what are the methodologies and how to reflect and to understand also the interplay when it comes to reporting, how to report on corresponding adjustments in the biannual report and biannual transparent report and in the annual reporting also. And the last one, of course, is stakeholders and engagement as voiced by other participants today in this meeting. There is still a lack really to develop capacity of different stakeholders, government stakeholders, financial sectors, projects, proponents. On this, really there is a gap to fill here. Next slide, please. Here just at a glance the process of collaboration with Article 6 IP actually in order to get forward to address the challenges mentioned before. Tunisia has engaged with the A6 IP since last summer and we have had a kickoff meeting where we were introduced to the support package of the center. Then we have had a follow-up meeting to identify a preliminary set of needs, because we like to proceed through a participatory and consultative approach and to ensure that the support package will be customized and needs-based project for the Tunisian side. After that, we have got a capacity building workshop, an enlarged meeting with different national stakeholders to discuss main concepts of Article 6 and to have an overview about potential needs. And recently there was an in-person meeting in Japan between the Tunisian delegation and the representative from the center, also to better fine-tune the work program, which will cover the current year and the next year. Next slide, please. Donc, just in brief, the outline of our work program. It's still draft, but we can go through it quickly. Donc, the first activity will be to enhance capacity about authorization arrangement, tracking arrangement, initial report, and legal framework. This is, as I said before, crucial to trigger any activity and any projects under Article 6. We need to have our authorization institution, a national designated authority, and national legal arrangement. Sorry. The second one is a technical workshop for stakeholders engagement, and this will gather potential project proponents. This event is still to be detailed and defined in the next days. Also, in Q4 this year, we intend to hold a technical workshop and to dive in more technical issues like corresponding adjustment, initial report, and stakeholder engagement. For the next year, we plan also to work on other questions, other issues like the annual information, regular information, and really there is a feel also. There is a lack that we have to feel when it comes to capacity of reporting. There will be also technical workshop on the progress and comparing to the needs and how to match stakeholders from both sides. And training maybe on development national registry or using other registry and to figure out options about ICNOS tracking. And at the end, wrap up meeting at the end of this work program. So this really where we stand here in Tunisia in Article 6, we are still in the beginning. The path is hard and is long, and we rely on the support of A6IP and other also partners to assist us in this journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Riyad Raida, for that wonderful, thorough presentation of implementation status, needs, expectations, the current progress with the A6IP Center on developing the support package. Thank you so much for your presentation. Now I'd like to pass the floor to Dr. Garg from India. Dr. Garg, if you can take the floor and speak on current implementation status or key challenges for India. You have the floor.
Yes. So we have notified the National Designated Authority, which is called the NADIPA, for implementation of the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. So the main functions of the NADIPA is to issue directions of the matter related to the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, evaluation and approval of the projects by the host party, authorized the issue of emission reductions from projects and actions for use to achievement of their NDCs, assess the likelihood of successful implementation of project and actions, and ensure the project and actions with higher sustainable development benefits. There are many more. They conduct the financial reviews, maintain a registry, and also ensure the eligible CER from CDM projects are transitions and new issues under Article 6.4. So NADIPA is, we have conducted 3 meetings of the NADIPA, and the process regarding authorization, finalization of the activity is still going on. So in the till now, we have proposed around 13 activities under Article 6.2 of bilateral mechanism. So the activity related to the GSG mitigation activities is like renewable energy with storage, solar thermal power, offshore wind, green hydrogen, compressed biogas, emerging mobility solution, high-end technology for energy efficiency, sustainable aviation fuel, and best available technology for process implementation in hard-to-abate sectors, tidal energy, ocean thermal energy, high voltage direct current transmission in conjunction with the renewable energy project, green ammonia, and carbon capture utilization and storage. So till now, we have going under discussion these 13 activities to consider under Article 6.2 bilateral mechanism. To consider bilateral mechanism. Now we are also going under discussion with the different countries to ongoing negotiation under Article 6.2 bilateral mechanism. Our discussion with Japan, Singapore is going on in very advanced stage, and we are also going under discussion with the South Korea, Germany, Sweden, European Union, and France and Italy. There is the discussion is still in initial stage. Now we have also notified the carbon trading scheme to develop the carbon market, domestic carbon market in India. So there is still a national steering committee to looking all the issues related to the Indian carbon market. The major key holders of the to develop the Indian carbon market are Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Grid Controller of India. These all organizations comes under the Ministry of Power, and they have also published the draft accreditation procedure and eligibility criteria for accredited carbon verifier agency, and also the detailed draft procedure for compliance mechanism or input of comment from the stakeholder. We have also published this and invited comment of the different stakeholders. Now, the Indian carbon market registry is currently in under development stage, and we are doing regular meetings to finalize the procedures and to operate the portal of the Indian carbon market. So we have chosen 2 market for trading at Indian carbon market portal. One is the compliance market and another one is the offset market. In the compliance market, the registered entity that are notified under the compliance mechanism are called obligated entity. So the target to be given to the obligated entity in terms of the tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per unit of equivalent product. In the offset market are is the market where there is the non-obligated entity. There is no target to be given. They can register their project for accounting greenhouse gas emission reductions or removal of evidence of issuance of carbon credit certificate. So non-obligated entity can purchase the carbon credit certificate on voluntary basis through ICM portal. So till now there is no target to the non-obligated entities. So rest of the discussions are still going on, and once we will finalize anything, then I will share the status of the other things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Garg. That gives us a clear picture of where India's status is, current organizations they're working with, and their current implementation status. So thank you so much. And now I'd like to turn the floor to Dr. Sozar. My first question to you, Dr. Sozar, is what are some successful practices or strategies countries may implement to enhance the effectiveness of Article 6?
Yeah, no, I thought I would speak a little bit about my previous experience with UNDP, working on the ground on Article 6 capacity building and regulatory frameworks with various stakeholders in Ghana, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Malawi, Morocco, Ukraine, Uruguay, and Vanuatu. And the challenges that we saw, challenges that come with Article 6 implementation, clearly one is over transferring mitigation outcomes and their associated costs.
due to corresponding adjustments in host countries' NDCs. And this, since these credits cannot be counted towards the seller's NDC targets, as we all know, this requires really careful consideration, and this is the reason why we see many countries still reluctant or at least very careful before agreeing to engage in Article 6. And then the corresponding adjustments introduce also a political uncertainty into projects, and this influences investors' decision, and this risk associated with these adjustments is a crucial factor for investors to consider investments in certain countries. Then the requirement to use mitigation outcomes within the same NDC cycle without ITMO banking imposes really market limitations, potentially causing projects instability, especially as the NDC cycle ends. And moreover, we have seen that potential seller countries interested in Article 6, at least over the past 2 years, that many of them had small industrial sectors with limited mitigation opportunities, which of course complicates the alignment with these estimates of 100 billion potential by 2035. But increasingly, we see now also, and we just heard this from India, that countries with significant industrial sector are more and more interested to participate. But so 3 key requests were raised across all countries, and the first and of course most critical need that was brought to UNDP was capacity building needs and targeted technical assistance to get countries ready, and this included not only Article 6 frameworks but also registry solutions and digital monitoring, and also project pipeline development, monitoring support, and reporting support, and matchmaking with buyers. And in response to that, and at the core of the support was support around the development of Article 6 frameworks. And these frameworks serve really as a guiding document that is essential for an effective implementation of Article 6 projects, and plays a key role in laying the foundation for robust carbon markets. And the key components of these frameworks, and at the core of making these markets efficient, a strong institutional arrangement specifying the roles and responsibilities of government bodies, and with a particular focus on the designated authority entrusted with overseeing Article 6 initiatives. Then workflow and authorization processes to delineate the workflow and authorization processes that govern the initiation and the execution of Article 6 projects, and providing also clarity and structure to project developers. Then tracking and reporting provisions are also a critical component of robust frameworks to ensure monitoring is effective and impacts carefully assessed. Of course, the application of corresponding adjustments is a critical aspect of Article 6 compliance, and within all frameworks, a comprehensive fee structure is needed. And we see, we also heard from Zambia today that this is one of the key components that is important for their framework. And this needs to establish the operational aspects of Article 6 support, but also sustainability as well as NDC ambition contributions. So these are the key components of Article 6 framework, which will help to make the implementation of Article 6 projects more efficient. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Sozar. And I guess I can go ahead and open the floor to any questions from participants that we may have for our partner countries or partner organizations. If there are no questions, I'll hand it back to Nakamura-san.
No, I can't find any questions from the Q&A box. But I understand with the presentation and the comments from Dr. Souza, so that gives a lot of ideas for each participant. Anyway, so thank you very much for the speakers for the session too. So I'd like to move on to the next session because of, there's a time constraint. I understand that many of you might have some comments, even the speaker, the presenters. But anyway, feel free to. I understand that there is no, I got just one question. One comment. But the Tunisia, due to the time constraints, the Ms. Ryder has already left the session, so that I will take a notes for the comments anyway. So that let me move on to the third session of this of today's plenary. So that and we have now the representatives from the private sector. As a presentation of the work program of A6IP and others, we are to engage more with the private sector to boost the implementation of Article 6 and the high integrity of carbon markets. We would like to have a panel discussion with the private sector at the last session of this plenary meeting. So we have 4 distinguished panelists. Mr. Andrea Bonzani, International Policy Director, IETA. And I'm wondering who is online from VCMI, but the representative of VCMI is also joined here for the panel. And Mr. Ben Rattenbury, Vice President of Policy, Silvera. And then Mr. Hugh Salway, Senior Director, Market Development and Partnerships, Gold Standard. So the VCMI, so that I understand that Lydia Sheldrake, Director of Policy and Partnerships. Thank you very much for joining, even though you're very busy. So, and for the panel moderator, so that I would like to invite again Director Kazu Kwakutsu. So that Director Kazu, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Nakamura-san, on introduction to all our distinguished panelists today. As was also mentioned by Alec from Zambia, I think the benefit that countries are seeing is the actual projects on the ground, which I think private sector will play a very crucial role. And on this, I really appreciate all the distinguished speakers. And for this session, I'd like to really encourage everyone to speak to what you are currently doing on the Article 6 front and also high integrity market and how you see this Article 6 partnership can move forward. And for this, may I just suggest starting with maybe Hugh from Gold Standard, which kindly prepare some presentation to kickstart. And then I will invite the others to also share your current activities from your end. So first, I'd like to maybe start with Hugh.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Kazu, and hello, everyone. So I believe my screen should be sharing, and if I press a button, hopefully you can start to see my slides in full screen.
Yes. You can see your screen now.
Great. Okay, so
if you can make it slide more to be full screen.
Yeah, if you just bear with me 1 second, I'm just going to, sorry, I'll start speaking as I do this as well. So we're not, you're not having to deal with this. My name is Hugh Salway. I'm the Director for Market Development and Partnerships at Gold Standard. And I talking here today, not just on behalf of Gold Standard, but about some work which we as an organization have been doing over the past year now with Verra, so another standard in the carbon market, as well as with the government of Singapore, so with the National Climate Change Secretariat of Singapore. And this is to develop a playbook or a standard for implementing Article 6 through the use of crediting programs. So one of the kind of exciting things about the implementation of Article 6 and Article 6.2 in particular is there is a lot more optionality which exists for governments in how they wish to cooperate. And there is a role which independent crediting programs like Gold Standard, like Vera, GCC and others can play as the certifier of mitigation outcomes. And we're seeing some examples of this already. So the government of Singapore, when it's looking to use Article 6, has recognized several independent crediting programs as potential suppliers of units for its carbon tax. CORSIA has recognized independent crediting programs, and CORSIA eligible units from now on will be Article 6 ones. And then we have companies who are looking to purchase Article 6 units as well. So there is a role which can exist under Article 6 for crediting programs like ours. And in Gold Standard, and I know in others as well, we've been taking steps to build readiness for supporting Article 6 projects. So having in place registry functionality to be able to label credits, rules to be able to manage authorizations. And we have the first live examples of these in our registries already. So Gold Standard has projects in Rwanda and Malawi, which have received Article 6 authorizations. But the challenge, as things are now, is the Article 6 rules are silent on some really important things about how this actually works. So if you have Article 6 units, Article 6 authorized credits under a crediting program like ours or like Vera's, there is silence on some of the more detailed mechanics of the different roles of the registry. So what is the role of the national registry versus that of the crediting program? How do you think about terms like issuance? Are we thinking about what happens on a national registry, in a crediting program registry? How do the different entities have to share information with each other in order to make Article 6 work in a way that's scalable and consistent? And this kind of silence really matters because it creates a risk that governments don't feel comfortable using some of the options which are available for them, like crediting programs. There's a risk that we see some incorrect implementation of Article 6, that things go wrong. And also, and I think this is kind of one of the biggest risks, that we see many different approaches emerging across the world, which creates some complexity for how Article 6 is implemented. And so Gold Standard, Vera, and the National Climate Change Secretariat of Singapore at COP28 a few months ago launched a program of work to develop, we haven't quite worked out the right wording for it, but like a playbook for how to implement Article 6 through crediting programs. And the idea here, and it's quite unusual for us to come together with Vera on something like this, but is to have a clear and consistent approach which may be adopted by governments across the world so that there is a consistent way in which Article 6 rules are applied when governments choose to authorize credits which are certified under standards like ours. So rather than allowing many different fragmented approaches to emerge, is there a way in which we can create a standard model that can be applied with maybe some nuances by different actors? That's really the intention of the work we want to do. Through this work over the next year as well, we're really interested in whether the practical examples which we come forward with can support ongoing negotiations under Article 6 by providing some real life examples of how this can work when you're looking to authorize units under a crediting program. As well as the kind of three parties who set this work up in the first place, there are several governments who are looking to host projects under Article 6, with whom we're starting to work a little bit more closely with on the development of this playbook. So this is work which is ongoing now. There are several key areas that we're really looking at, and they get quite into the weeds of how Article 6 works, but they're really important to make sure that the option of working with crediting programs is one that is robust, and that's something that really matters for us. So some of the questions include, what is the role of the different registries? So what does the National Registry do versus the crediting programs registry, and how do they interact, and how do we make sure there is consistency between the two of them? How do we think about the term ITMOs versus credits or units which exist in registries like ours, and how can we provide a common understanding of how to think about these two terms and how they interact? How do we apply some of the decisions that have been made already around unique identifiers when it comes to credits in registries like ours, and how does this work in practice? And then finally, how do the administrators of different registries and of Article 6 systems and governments communicate? What is the best rhythm for that communication? What are the best modes? And how can we do this in a way that starts off quite manually, but hopefully moves to more digitized solutions in the future as well? I think in the interest of time, I'll skip over that slide, which I had there, and just talk a little bit about next steps. So this is work that we are kind of currently doing to develop a first version of this playbook. We're hoping to be able to launch a draft version of this at the June intersessional, but this is still ongoing and subject to the progress that we make. We then want to have more consultations, firstly in that period, but then also after it in the run-up to COP, to further develop the ideas that we have and to build understanding of what has been developed so far. And then, of course, after COP, there will be further work which is needed, assuming there are decisions which are made, in order to make sure that the playbook which is developed is a kind of true application of final Article 6 rules after COP29. This is work that's underway really to try to do a few things. Firstly, to make sure that the option of using crediting programs is one that governments understand, that they feel able to trust, and that there is a clear path for how this can work in practice. Linked to that, making sure that environmental integrity is assured through this approach as well, and that any risks which may exist are managed effectively. And then thirdly, we want to take forward the work which is underway in a very inclusive way, working with different governments, different actors who are interested in how this is being done. And so I think most people on this call will know at least one of those who are listed here, but please do reach out to us if you're interested in talking more about the work which is underway, being involved in some of the consultations which will come up, because we're very interested in how we can provide a model that can be readily applied by any government who, or any crediting program who is looking to engage in this type of cooperation in the future. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Initiative together with Vera and Singapore. And as we are providing this support package, the authorization, tracking, reporting is a very important framework, which I think depending on the usage for the authorization, the country needs to develop their own authorization. And also tracking in terms of those ITMOS tracking. I think those are very relevant that you are currently working on. So we are also hoping to support the countries to develop initial report and for using the independent standard, and also looking forward to see your playbook to be available in this coming June session, and hope to integrate with our support package as well. So thank you very much for sharing your current updates. And with the integrity carbon market, we are also looking at the supply side and also demand side integrity as a very crucial component of this the market to play an important role. And for this, I'd like to next pass over to Lydia from Voluntary Carbon Market Initiative, which are also providing those demand side aspect of integrity for the development of code. And I'd like to also pass over to Lydia to give us some of the updates from your side and some of the initiatives that we are currently working on. So Lydia, floor is yours.
Thanks very much. Really pleased to be here. Hello, everyone. Lydia Sheldrake, Director of Policy and Partnerships at VCMI, the Voluntary Carbon Markets Integrity Initiative. Now, VCMI is mainly focused on integrity in voluntary carbon markets, but by that we mean voluntary carbon markets which genuinely contribute towards meeting the Paris goals. So there is a link there to Article 6 because there's a complementarity which we need to build within voluntary carbon markets so that they're in complement to Article 6 and support mitigation and sustainable development. And I think it's fair to say that that objective to build integrity in voluntary carbon markets, which are complementary to Article 6, is even more important now in the context of delays in agreeing the final aspects of Article 6 at the COP. So there's an important role and a helpful role that voluntary carbon markets can play to help fill the gap in the meantime by channeling finance and supporting activities on the ground to build the systems and help build the capacity for carbon projects generation, which can then help accelerate the runway into high integrity compliance markets and international cooperation under Article 6. And you're already seeing that convergence between the voluntary carbon market, Article 6 and compliance mechanisms. So with voluntary standards eligible under CORSIA and Article 6 enabling the use of 6.4 units for voluntary purposes. So at VCMI, we're doing two things to support implementation of high integrity voluntary carbon markets, which complement Article 6. And on the buy side, that's by building rules for high integrity in the use of voluntary carbon markets and claims made about that use. And that's through our VCMI Claims Code of Practice. And we're doing that hand in glove with the Integrity Council for Voluntary Carbon Markets. So together we provide end-to-end threshold standards for high integrity voluntary carbon markets, which are mature and deliver additional mitigation. Our claims code is a step-by-step guide for corporates to use high quality carbon credits as part of their net zero transitions, and it enables them to make carbon integrity claims about accelerating global net zero and get recognized for that action. And this is really important because I'm sure you all will have seen that the media scrutiny on voluntary carbon markets the past year and further back. And some of this stems from perception or perceived risk around greenwashing, which is underpinned by a lack of clarity and consistency on how companies use carbon credits, what carbon credits they use, and what they claim about that use. So this is really intended to address that challenge and plug the gap and build transparency in high integrity voluntary carbon markets to help catalyze demand from the private sector. And just a couple of weeks ago, we had the first company announcing their claim, their carbon integrity platinum claim, following release of the final claims code and assurance mechanism just before COP 28. We're also developing a beta version of a Scope 3 flexibility claim, which will be renamed to something a bit more attractive. And the function of that is really to enable companies to use carbon credits who are currently facing structural challenges to address their Scope 3 emissions so that they can take action while on the pathway to their net zero transition and make a credible claim about that. So the second piece, so we've got the claims code on the buy side, which are market rules. On the supply side, we're also doing work. And on that aspect, we're supporting capacity building on the sell side of voluntary carbon markets. And that's to help ensure that finance from voluntary carbon markets goes to where it's needed most to help deliver benefits for the climate, but also sustainable development. And we've done this through our Access Strategies program, delivered in partnership with UNDP and Climate Focus in the pilot phase, which provided country-led responsive support to host countries to help them decide whether, when, and how to access finance from voluntary carbon markets into NDC implementation. And this holistic approach, looking at VCMs in the round alongside Article 6 and other carbon pricing mechanisms, was deemed really important as it supported countries and policymakers to determine which carbon financing streams to channel into which sectors of the economy to support NDC implementation and ambition, and what opportunities could be leveraged from the VCM, which then doesn't entail a trade-off with transferring IPMOs, for example. And so we collated lessons learned through these projects into a toolkit. We've got an access strategies toolkit available online. And we're now exploring how best VCMI can work to support implementation of that toolkit, working in close coordination with other capacity building programs. And that's where, the work of the Article 6 implementation partnership is really key. And we're very pleased to be a member to support both on the private sector and practitioner engagement, but also thinking about how and where there are opportunities to integrate voluntary carbon market considerations into the capacity building landscape, so that there's a support for policymakers to consider where different financing streams can contribute to sectoral transformations. So I will leave it there and really welcome anyone to reach out who's interested in discussing any of those elements further.
Thank you, Lydia, for updating your latest information, as well as the willingness to cooperate in terms of capacity building for not only just private sector, but also the government sector, which I think this initiative needs to be also extended. So thank you so much. And also, I wanted to move on to another important aspect of the high integrity carbon market, which is the market integrity. And on this, I think Ben from Silvera could also shed light on where the Silvera also providing information related to the market aspects, and then how you can also contribute into this on the Article 6 side as well. So Ben, I wanted to put the floor for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kazu-san. Can you hear me okay and also see my slide?
Yes, I can see you.
Great. Great, thank you. Okay, so let me dive in. Firstly, hello everyone. My name is Ben Rattenbury and I'm the Vice President for Policy at Silvera. Firstly, I'd like to express my gratitude to you, Kazu-san, and the A6 IP team for inviting me here today for this plenary meeting. It's really an honor. From our perspective, A6 IP is an essential piece of market infrastructure as the market enters this new phase where Article 6 is taking off and the boundaries between the voluntary carbon markets, compliance markets, Article 6 and CORSIA are increasingly blurred. And I think it's testament to your and Japan's leadership and foresight to have developed this partnership, which is a critical building block, not only for Article 6, but for domestic carbon markets and international carbon markets more generally. So for those who haven't heard of Silvera, we are a technology company specializing in carbon markets data. We work with the private sector, governments, and multilaterals such as the World Bank to bring robust quantification of climate impacts to the carbon markets, both the voluntary carbon markets and under Article 6. We announced at COP28 our partnership with the government of Singapore to support their work on carbon markets in Article 6 as it relates to their NDC and carbon tax. Our data, tools, and experts help to streamline decision-making for market participants at every point in the carbon journey, whether they're seeking the best credits at the best price or looking to secure future supply. We're best known for producing carbon credit ratings, so you can think of us as Moody's for carbon. We were the first carbon ratings agency, and we're now over 4 years old and have a team of 150 people. We've raised around $100 million so far to hire the best experts in data science, geospatial analytics, field science, financial analysis, and so on. And here is our rating scale, which goes from AAA to D. So this looks specifically at a combination of the accuracy of the carbon accounting, the strength of the additionality claims, and the likely permanence of the credits. We also look at co-benefits as an additional component, but those first three components that I mentioned, carbon accounting, additionality, and permanence, they combine to produce this letter rating, this headline rating, which allows participants in the market to compare different types of credit on this quality spectrum. And here is what the ratings actually look like. My apologies that the animation is quite fast, but this kind of gives a bit of an idea of the depth of the information that is available now, including, as I mentioned, the geospatial analysis. Okay, so I'll go back to the rating scale so that I don't get a headache. In terms of how we fit into the market, the increase in scrutiny of carbon projects has led to the creation of several quality-related initiatives. As we know, including the ICVCM and the VCMI, both of which are doing extremely important work. And in general, these reflect a commonly agreed set of principles. And so people who talk about fragmentation in the market, I think actually there's a lot of consolidation in expectations around what good looks like. However, most of these initiatives tend to focus on assessing project types or carbon standards or methodologies. And while this is important to help to set a minimum bar for quality, which I think they've been very successful at, integrity, in our view, really has to be assessed at the project level, which is why our ratings assess projects at that scale. And so the key insight at the heart of what we do is that carbon credit quality is not binary, but a spectrum. And so here's an example. This is a bell curve, but there's different types of spectrum for different types of credits, but essentially there is a continuous spectrum of quality rather than all credits being equal. Some credits unfortunately have zero climate impact, and they have been widely reported in the media. And I think the public discourse suggests that there's a much greater proportion of these zero impact credits than is actually the case, but they have captured headlines. Some credits have more than zero, but less than 1 ton of CO2 climate impact. And some credits have over 1 ton of CO2 climate impact, but very few credits have exactly 1 ton of CO2 climate impact. And the amazing thing is that recent breakthroughs in a number of technologies, including artificial intelligence, allow us to know where on this quality spectrum a carbon credit lies in a way that was just not possible 5 years ago. So we build on the work of the registries and the PVBs in doing going much further than the MRV requirements, and also by looking at climate impact directly, rather than by assessing adherence to a methodology as a proxy for climate impact, because ultimately the buyers just care rightly about climate impact. Unlike other companies, we've not taken payment from a project in order to rate that project, so it's important to emphasize that there's no conflict of interest. And we're now very busy getting this data into the market to ensure that finance flows towards the projects with the greatest climate impact in order to help carbon markets achieve their mitigation potential. So I mentioned before, as well as the ratings data, we provide data and expertise to support the whole end-to-end journey for carbon market transactions. And we're also increasingly involved in building understanding and capacity across the markets, including through publications and webinars. So to sum up, we've spent over 4 years now working with buyers, sellers, governments, registries, global experts, and industry standards such as ICVCM and VCMI to define and design tests for credit quality. We're now extremely excited about the prospect of working with A6IP to support their critical mission of helping foster high integrity, large scale and high impact Article 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben, for sharing your current existing activities that Silvera is now providing. And I think this information on the actual project is really essential to really this market to work, and really accessing to this information by various actors, stakeholders, is also really providing a more stable market. And so I think we're looking forward to really working together to really strengthen this market integrity. So now with that, I'd like to pass over to Andrea from International Emission Trading Association, which we have also strategic partner together from the initiation from COP27. And we consider the IETA is also a very important role to play, especially representing private sector in this carbon market, and also building trust in this space, and also working many things from the Kyoto era. So we look forward to continue our work together with IETA, and please share with your current activities, maybe including this year and then forward. So with that, I pass over to Andrea.
Thank you very much, Kazu. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Bonzani. I'm International Policy Director at IETA. IETA is an association of over 300 businesses from different countries and different sectors. And our mission is to advocate for carbon markets. We will be celebrating our 25th anniversary in a few months. So since 1999, we've been active on all types of carbon markets, from domestic cap and trade programs to international markets such as the VCM, the Kyoto Protocol, and now Article 6. And we aim to be the collective voice of business in policy discussions on carbon markets. So what we've been doing since Article 6 was included in the Paris Agreement, and what we plan to keep doing for the next few years, is to track very closely the ongoing negotiations and implementation. We are very close to the UN process, and we do that to inform our members, to inform the private sector about progress and opportunities, as well as to convey, excuse me, the collective voice of the private sector to negotiators and government officials to make sure there are no gaps in perception and understanding, and opportunities for collaborations are used. More specifically, in addition to this activity of tracking, we ran workshops and capacity building initiatives in specific countries. Last year, we've been active in some of the potentially largest host country, such as Brazil and Indonesia, and we've had a regional workshop on capacity building in West Africa, specifically in Côte d'Ivoire. This year, we plan to continue our activities in these countries and expand to new ones. And on our list, we have Vietnam and India. And also, we will announce another regional workshop in Africa, this time focused on West Africa, which will take place in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania on the 23rd, from the 21st to the 23rd of May. Our main partners in this workshop are the Eastern African Alliance, which is a network of 7 governments from the region, as well as the World Bank. However, we're open to additional partners and participants. So please reach out if you're interested in this opportunity. The focus of the workshop would be to foster a public-private dialogue with the aim of expediting the issuance of credits with corresponding adjustments for use towards NDCs and schemes such as Corsia. Overall, we believe the role of the private sector is crucial in both the implementation of 6.2 and 6.4. And for the time being, we expect one of the largest pools of demand for corresponding adjusted credits to be coming from the private sector, specifically from the Corsia scheme for international aviation. So this was our main work on host countries, on supply side for Article 6. Also, a strong focus in the market, and a focus of this session is the integrity of carbon markets. Well, we believe this is crucial to build the trust that's necessary for carbon markets to scale and to be adopted more widely. AITA is part of the Secretariat of ICVCM, the Integrity Council for the Voluntary Carbon Market, and we expect the work of the Council to bear fruit this year with the first credits being labeled as CCP compliant, and that will provide an additional tool for buyers to discern between good credits and bad credits, and be confident when making decision about engaging with markets. AITA is also one of the promoters of the Climate Action Data Trust. It was mentioned by the World Bank in the presentation. We have a secretariat in Singapore, and we've had the first registries connected to the infrastructure, and that will, once fully operational with more registry onboarded, that will provide the public with additional data in a public and comparable format about carbon credits and transactions in the market. for high integrity, there's been a lot of work on the supply, but we believe it's very important to work on demand as well. I think Lydia summarized very well the crucial work of BCMI, which we support. We believe it's really important. But overall, there's been a conflicted signal and guidance that was not always conducive to a positive role for carbon markets. We're now in an unfortunate situation with some perception issues that were mentioned by speakers before me, allegations of greenwashing, and what we see is that for the private sector, it's often more convenient to do nothing and keep quiet rather than engage with markets and make sure that some of the offsets are some of the emissions are offsetted in good faith. So for this, AITA has developed some guidelines, and we plan to launch them next month at our European Climate Summit on the 16th of April. And before that, there will be a webinar where we present our analysis and our thinking that led us to launch these guidelines. So very briefly, a few words on how we plan to engage with the Article 6 implementation partnership. As Kazu said, we are a strategic partner. We want the partnership to incorporate the insights and needs of the private sector in its activities to ensure that then when the frameworks are developed, the private sector can effectively engage, develop projects, buy and retire credits. And to do that, we're very happy to offer our platform to the Article 6 implementation partnership to present to a broad private sector audience. We have 4 regional summits every year. The first one will be our European one in Italy next month. Then we will have one in Colombia, one in New York, and one in India. And also we have capacity building workshops in several countries. So we would be very happy to work with the partnership and perhaps have joint side events or joint workshops throughout 2024 and beyond. So I believe we're over time, so I'll stop here. Very happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrea, for your sharing of the latest updates, including some of the planned event for the upcoming months. Very much looking forward to working together. And today, this time is really sharing of what is our plans are for this year and how we can kind of plan our work together. So very much appreciate all the information that's shared with AITA and looking forward to working together. So for this, I like to maybe open the floor for any questions. You can also put in the queue question and answers. But I do also recognize that there is already time we are pressing. So and we already have a very good information being shared. And from Article 6 Implementation Partnership side, we very much looking forward to working together with all of you. And as we are providing support package, which include the Article 6 strategy, authorization, tracking, reporting, and project initiation, and also the methodology, all of are very relevant to what all of you are doing. At the same time, we are now trying to coordinate with all of us to really, utilize the opportunities for the international events. So looking for the June session and also any global or regional events where we can also plan our joint activities. So yeah, with that, I maybe like to thank all the panelists for sharing with your very latest information. And this year is really crucial in developing some tangible outcomes, especially around authorization, initial report, and tracking in order to really providing some examples from the country's level. So for that, I think private sector's engagement is really crucial. So I'd like to thank all of your panelists to be with us. And I'd like to maybe move on to the last session. And I wanted to pass over to Nakamura-san. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and the panelists and the Director Kazu for the moderating the session. Very sorry about a bit over time, but I would like to conclude. I would like to proceed to the last session. That means the concluding remarks. And again, I would like to invite the Director Kazuhisa Kwakutsu for the concluding remarks.
Yes. Thank you very much, and sorry for making myself again. And I'd like to thank you for all of your participation today. Today is our first event for this year for the plenary meeting, and try to share our progress as well as our planned work program for this year and next. And also we have received many presentations and latest status of the Article 6 implementation from the government, as well as the private sector. And for that, we greatly appreciate for all the time that you have shared with us. And from Article 6 Implementation Partnership, we are really gearing up towards our implementation support. And actually, this month is our last month for the fiscal year. And from next April, we will be starting new contract to start. And for that, very much looking forward to start our work on the ground for our implementation support to really bring this Article 6 on in a more scale. And for this, we need a really partnership to work together. I'd like to thank all of you to participate, and then today's meeting will be recorded, and then it will be also available. And then we will also try to share as many participation as possible. So with that, I'd like to thank, and also like to thank all our team member, Nakamura-san, and also Diana to moderating this session, and also all the technical support that we have provided by our team members. So I'd like to thank all of you, and also thank for all the participation by our partner countries and institutions. And we look forward to working together. And please contact us if you have any interest in doing any partnership together. So with that, thank you very much for today's meeting, and I'd like to close this today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the concluding remarks. And as the director says, please stay tuned with us. And all the question which remained as a question is recorded, so that your input was not in vain. So that we would like to further discuss with you, each of you, and we would like to have a next opportunity in the very soon. So that I hope that we can engage further discussion in the future. So that grateful that again, kindly stay connected with the A6IP, and have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Right. Thank you.